Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel all about VLSI. So in today's podcast, we have our guest as Mr. Venkatesh. He's working as a verification engineer. So let us welcome Mr. Venkatesh. So hi Venkatesh, can you introduce yourself?
Hi Gaurav. So, firstly, I'm excited to be part of this podcast and share out my experiences that I have been having for the past 4.5 years into the domain. So, I have started in this domain in around 2021. I have started taking the training in the March and in a Bangalore-based institute. I have taken the training for around more than 6 months, and after the training, I got placed in a company that was from the institute itself. And I have worked on protocols like AMBA of APB, AXI, and then also I have worked on PCI. And recently, I have switched to a project that is on display port IP verification. So yeah, this is all about my experience into the DV domain. Excited to share this knowledge with in this
Okay, so
podcast.
as you have mentioned about training, right? So let me just dive into the first category of questions regarding training categories, right? So, like,
Sure.
I get so many queries like, shall I take training or shall I not take training or shall I, self study so that I can get into industry? Like, what's your opinion? Like, in your opinion,
Uh,
should training is mandatory or without training a person can get into industry?
See, this is from my opinion, it's entirely the candidate dependent. So if the candidate is capable of having getting into the domain without any training, because we do have many resources out on internet, like we have websites like VLSI Verify or VLSI. uh, yeah, apart from VLSI Verify, we have other sites which will explain the basics of the domain, and we can do the projects ourselves. But again, we should have a proper structure on how we should prepare, on how we should go into the domain. Because if we are doing it on a self-learning basis, we are not sure what are the steps we should take to get into the domain. Like we should start with digital, then Verilog, then SystemVerilog, and then UVM. And there is a proper format which we need to follow. If we are in the institute, they'll guide, because they will have a proper schedule on how much time we should allocate for each of the modules. Instead, if we are doing it on a self-learning basis, we need to have this entire preparation plan. We need to also have a mentor, because even now there are mentors out on LinkedIn who can guide out us, but they won't be with us all the time. But if it's institute, we do have people who will guide us on daily basis if we are facing any issues. Like maybe we are developing some code on a day and we are facing some errors which we are not able to resolve. So in the institute, it's better they'll have a mentor. But again, it's dependent on the candidate and themselves, like if they are financially affordable for that case. Because now,
Yeah.
at least if we go to any institute, at least in Bangalore, I don't think there are courses below 60 or 70K.
Yes, exactly. So, like, have you targeted to only design roles, or your target was DV, or your target was to enter into verification?
From the initial steps, like I have been targeting only DB domain, not into design, because I was interested more into verification. So I did not target design roles.
Okay, so let's say if a fresher wants to enter into only verification domain, if then
Hmm.
is it possible, or should he focus upon design and verification? Then he can switch into verification. Like, what is the process of getting only into verification for a fresher?
So the process is basically they because now the industry expects uh, good knowledge on SV and UVM, because they have to be well versed with the language, methodology, and everything. And but now most of the freshers I see, they are not like they mentioned that they have taken training from the institute on SV and UVM, but they are not well versed with the language. So it is a basic requirement that they should have. Apart from this, they also need to have a good knowledge on AMBA protocols like APB and AXI. And apart from these, it's better if they have some good projects that are not repeated in the other regimes. Like maybe they'll have FIFO, the router, and some basic projects which is seen across all the resumes. Maybe if there is at least one unique project, one ABB or AXI, an engineering project, that should help them differentiate between the other resumes. This is the basic requirement I would suggest for freshers.
And you have mentioned about like AMBA protocols, right? Like up to what extent they should learn it. Like if you open the specification, you will have a lot of things to learn, right? So like what should be
Yes.
the maximum limit they should learn it?
It should be good enough if they are able to at least develop the basic test bench. Like say we have AXI4, they need not develop the entire specification test bench. At least if they are covering the basic AXI knowledge, that should be good enough, because even freshers, they are expecting this AXI to be known. So they should know the basic, how the read and write transfers happen, how does a burst transfer happen, and what are the other concepts, like maybe we have aligned addresses, unaligned addresses. So how are these taken care? So they should be aware of these, the basic part, not very advanced. Like we even have uh, quality of service and other concepts as well, but that might not be much relevant to freshers.
Yeah. So
And taking this AXI project into consideration, at least it is better if they are doing that from scratch instead of copying it from some GitHub code or some EDA playground code, because that doesn't make any sense. Instead of directly copying the code and running them and putting them into their resumes, it is better if they do it from scratch entirely and put it then into the resume, because the interviewer is completely like, he can ask any question from any project. So that is better than.
yeah. So coming to the practice, like what kind of, open source tools which are available? Like if a person is not taking any particular training in any paid training, then what kind of open
Hmm.
source tools is available for that particular person?
Uh, so one site which I've used even after the training, like when I was whenever I was trying to write some code for some practice basis, I tried it on EDA Playground. So it's freely available. Only one thing is we'll have to have a mail account of some company person. Like if they are working in any of the companies, that should be fine, or it should be any student mail ID to get registered into the EDA Playground. So that is one open source tool which we can use if we are not into any of the training institutes.
Okay, and many people have this particular, thought process like verification interviews are very hard compared to interviews due to the problems like, constraints or assertions. Like people face more problems in this particular areas. Like, what do you think? How to get more confidence in this particular areas because there is no proper material or some kind of resources resources are present, but there are a lot of problems to explore in this. Like, what's your take on this?
So my basic understanding is, whenever we are entering this domain of verification, to get expert in this domain, the main step is, if it is not sufficient if we just understand the concepts. It is more important on how we are implementing them, and understanding the depth of the concept. Because say there is some concept in assertion, like we have some same cycle operator or next cycle operators. If we go and study that this is a concept, how is it implemented, it doesn't help us on understanding the concept in depth, unless and until we go ahead and implement it on some use case. Only then we'll get to know, like what exactly does the operator do, what is the difference between the next cycle and the same cycle operator. Only then we'll get to know. So it is more on practice rather than understanding the concept just from the textbook material.
Exactly,
So more
that's
the
true.
practice, more the perfection.
Yes. And coming to this resumes, like how many projects a fresher can keep in his resume? Like I've seen some resumes like I've seen 10 people resume. All the 10 people are going to have same kind of project. Like
Exactly.
what? So is it recommended, or should they explore any other new projects, and how many projects they should mention in their particular resume, and how many pages it should be?
Pages, I would say it is okay to max of two, because more than two is not even needed for a fresher. And for number of projects, as I mentioned earlier, basic ABB or AXA project, and then engineering project is must. And apart from that, any unique project like some memory controllers or interrupt controllers of those sort, and these should be entirely from scratch. It should not be some project that was already developed and they're making some advancements on the existing one. Apart from these, if any scripting language is also learned, so these can be added. But the format of the resume should be made sure that it is ATS compliant, that they are having it in a proper format. Like we can have them in Canva as well, like under the professional resumes category we'll get a good list of professional resumes that we can change our format to.
And as you mentioned about scripting, right? So, like, what kind of
Hmm.
scripting languages he should learn? Because many training institutes, or they will not be teaching all the scripting languages. And nowadays, people are learning Python. Some are learning TCL. Some are learning Perl. Or some are
Yes.
learning all the scripting languages. So, what do you suggest?
So now mostly in the industry Python is used, but yeah, even in some cases there are some companies where they are using Perl to run the basic simulations. So at least one scripting language is needed, because maybe if they are in one project that is from scratch, they'll have to do that even basic setup for the TB. So that needs a script. Maybe it can be a Perl script or a Python script, but they'll have to, unless and until they are knowing that scripting language, they cannot do that simulation setup for the entire TB, right? So at least one
Yeah.
is needed. But yeah, as a fresher, if I would say, maybe they can learn a Perl script and implement it on a project, the entire regression setup, the entire simulation setup. And there are even multiple options, like what are the compilation options they can give, whether it's a TB compilation, or whether it's both DUT and TB compilation, or is it none of the compilation. So it's just a simulation that they are running. So all those options they can try it out in the scripting.
One more question is like, let's say, suppose even when I was entering into industry, like if I want to,
Hmm.
excel or in verification, like when I've started learning verification after completing entire system Verilog, I've picked a small D flip-flop verification and I've started with the entire scratch thing. Like if I
Okay.
recommend any people, like you can start doing some kind of projects. So generally, most of them take smaller designs. Like people, I've seen people taking smaller added design or a simple counter design and start verifying using
Correct.
system Verilog. So what do you think? Is this
Hmm.
approach correct? Like starting from entirely scratch, like the basic designs and spending your time, is it a correct approach, or you need to jump into a complex
Uh,
project and do the verification? So what is the correct approach?
so here I would say they should start with a simpler design, because more complex is the design, they'll have to have more test cases even. Since it's like designs like D flip flop or adder kind of thing, they are much simpler. They won't have much test cases, but they'll have to do the setup for the TB. So here, the main point is how they are doing the test bench setup, whether it's SV or UVM. They'll understand what is at least basic test bench setup. Once they are able to do that basic test bench setup, irrelevant of the project, maybe if it is complex designs that are different, like they'll have to integrate some VIPs if they are needed, but at least they'll get to know what is the basic test bench architecture that they have to do. They'll get to know how the test plan should be. So what is the process they'll have to follow once they are trying to develop a test bench. Because if we consider the UVM architecture, we'll have the test component, and inside that we have a ENV, and in that we have a agent and scoreboard. So all those connections, it will be easier if they start with a simpler design and then move ahead to the next complex designs like APB or AXI.
Yeah, great, correct. Um, Now, like, I have one more question. The final question regarding the placement preparation and regarding the student mindset and all. So, like, how a particular person, or if a person is preparing for, verification interviews, or if he is preparing for verification domain, like, how can he use AI? Like, I've seen many people, like, if I tell them to write down a test bench, they simply copy paste everything from scratch, and they start learning from them. So they see the code and they learn from that particular generated code. And second set of people is they write down everything from scratch, and if they have any queries, they will refer to it. Like, what kind of approach do you prefer?
So here the second option is suggestible, because if we are taking already a generated code, we won't think of what is the possible logic we have to implement it, because here we can do it in multiple ways. Like if we have a scoreboard for a checker, we can have it in multiple ways. Maybe AI is giving only the one of the possible way. Instead, if we are following the second approach, maybe we are trying a different implementation. So maybe it's better if we try out our own implementation, and then if we are facing some issues, it is better to consult the chat gpt, give it the code and ask what. Even we should not give the entire code. We initially need to try like what is that error and try fixing it. Still, if you are not able to, then we can go ahead and ask the AI or chat gpt that this particular error, like where should we resolve it. So, and even fixing it, we need to know like what the fix is. It's not that we are just going ahead and applying that fix, we are not knowing what the fix is. That doesn't again make sense. So yeah, and even while preparing for DV roles, I would suggest three basic steps. That is three G's that I would say. So these three G's are basically, one is having a good resume, and then having a good number of connections with the HRs and managers out on LinkedIn, and the third G is good preparation. So if these three G's are there, I think they can land out and do a job in good time.
One more last question. Like, what should be a student mindset to approach any particular person on LinkedIn? Like, how to approach a HR on LinkedIn? Like, as you mentioned about LinkedIn, all right. So, like, what should be the, I've seen some messages like they will be copying some content from GPT, and they will be posting that particular to HR and all. So, like, how to consult a HR? Like, what do you think? What should be their approach for asking for a job or referral?
So whether it's a mail, like whenever we are drafting mail to any HR, or if we are pinging them on LinkedIn, we should have a proper structured message that is not too lengthy, because the HR, if it is too lengthy, even they may not see the entire message. It should be very short and crisp, that will explain our experience, like our whatever we have worked on, what projects we have done in current domain. So, and we need to make sure that we are keeping everything that we have done. We are not missing any critical parts. Like if for a particular requirement the HR is expecting that we should have a PCI or some APB protocol, we need to make sure that that is part of the description, that we are sending it to the HR. And apart from that, we should have a resume that will have the exact format whenever we are naming. Most of the freshers I see, they'll put it as, for example, someone's name is X, they'll put it as X underscore resume. That doesn't like help later on, because maybe if the resume is downloaded by the HR and it's on their local device, it maybe the HR is missing out to follow. They might not uh, follow up back once they are looking at these resumes. Instead, if they are putting it as X underscore DB trained fresher resume, it can help the HR even, so that okay, this particular candidate is trained fresher, maybe I have to check with them. So it can help in various ways. So these minor points, if they're taken care whenever we are pinking the HR, this can definitely help.
Yeah, great. So, like, coming to the second category of questions, so what is the exactly role of a verification engineer? Like, what exactly do you work in the industry? Like, what is your job role and what projects do you work? Can you explain it briefly?
Yeah. So in it is mostly, I would say, if we are working in a service based company, it is dependent on the client. What are the work roles we are assigned to? In some companies, they'll assign a regression work. In some cases, we will be assigned to test case development. In other cases, we even will have to test do the test bench development from scratch. There is no proper verification environment. So it all depends on where we assign to. And even if it's a product based company, this might be the same case, because they might be some projects which are like, there is some version, like if we take PCI, there is some Gen 5 that was already developed. Now they're upgrading to Gen 6. So they might use the existing test bench environment, because mostly the test benches are all reusable. So they'll port it to the existing current version and then do some minor modifications. So, but almost all the cases will have to do the test cases development, like whatever are not part of the previous versions. Like as I said, the PCI Gen 5 will have to cover the new requirements and all.
Okay. So, like, what do you think the impact of AI on the verification industry would be? Like, we have increasing number of jobs, or the number of jobs will be decreased? Like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, so here for freshers, I would say now there are not many openings, particularly for freshers. For experienced candidates, like at least 3 plus or 4 plus, we do see good number of openings. Yeah, but again, for the last 1 week, I have seen that there were openings from some of the companies, like some service-based companies. They were having online tests and all. So even there were some walk-in drives in Bangalore-based companies.
Okay, like, what should be the mindset of a fresher? Like, during this particular time period, there are very less number of jobs. Right? How much time do you think they should be learning, and like, should they switch the domain, or keep upgrading their resume, or what do you suggest for them?
So here, this is a problem for many freshers. I have been asked, like getting the same questions from multiple people, that they have been in the domain for almost 1 year and now they're not even getting in any interview calls. But if they are changing the domain, like say they are in DV currently and they are trying to switch to PD, they'll learn all the basics again. They might, what is the guarantee that the same situation might not repeat in PD? They are not sure, right? They are spending their time and effort again on a different domain. That I won't say is really worth it. Instead, already they are in the DV domain and they have knowledge on the basics. It is better that if they are upgrading their projects, like maybe they have added AXI. So better if they work on some other protocols, like some Ethernet or some PCIe, because even these Ethernet or PCIe, they are very vast protocols. The spec itself will be around 1,000 pages at least. So maybe they can take a part of it, develop the design, and do the test bench for it themselves. So it's better if they stay in the same domain and continue upgrading.
Yeah. So, like, one more final question. Like, there are so many, courses which are available on market. Like, someone are coming with formal verification, or there are some courses which are offered by IITs, NITs, like, with larger, most expensive courses. Like, what should be the mindset of a person before choosing a particular course? Like, what should be the categories he should be filtering before choosing any particular course? Not to mention any particular training institute names or something, just to briefly, have the mindset kind of thing for before choosing a course. Like, what factors it should select.
So I'll tell what my approach was whenever I was trying to select the institutes. So after my engineering, I was trying to get into these institutes, but there were many number of institutes in Bangalore itself. I was not uh, understanding like which institute to go. Maybe I have found that there are 5 institutes like A, B, C, D. and D. So my basic filtration was first not on the placement, because now most of the students they'll have their first criteria as a placement. But my criteria was first is how their teaching was. So are they covering all the topics that are needed for the DV domain? Are they? And second is how their schedule is, because most of the cases, what the institutes will do is they'll take up the topics and complete it very fast. They won't spend the needed time that is needed for that concept. If maybe say we need a 1 month for digital, we'll have to practice it entirely from all the basic number system till flip flops, and all the FSM, how the FSM is done. So all those concepts if we have to cover, we'll have to give it at least 3 or 4 weeks of time. But in some cases the institutes might spend only 1 week of time there, because the basic of DV is the digital itself. So we need to see what is the schedule, and then how are the mentors. That is, this is the main important part, because if you are stuck at some point, there should be someone out on there in the institute guiding, like where should we, what is the fix, so what is the approach that we have to follow. So all these steps should be taken care. And the last important thing is we need to connect with the candidates in the LinkedIn. Like maybe say some person has joined a institute, we can get the details of that institute on Google and LinkedIn. Like we need to check how many students have been taking the training for the past 2 or 3 years. So what is their response? Is the institute good enough to join? And we can, is it a reliable institute? So all these reviews we need to get it from the students by connecting with them on the LinkedIn. So at least if we are taking reviews from 10 candidates, it will help us to get know what is the exact situation. Maybe the institute was good at 2020 or 2021, but what is the current state? How are the trainers now? So the trainers keep on changing from time to time. It's not that the trainer was at 2021 will even be there now. So all these internal details, if we are getting to know the minute details even, then I don't think it will be a wrong step if we are choosing the one which we have filtered.
Yeah, very final question of this particular podcast. Like, let's say, suppose if you can travel back and if you are a student again preparing for DV roles, then what would be your strategy now? Can you wrap it up in a minute?
Okay, sure. So I would have concentrated more on digital and Verilog, because during my engineering I haven't concentrated much on those two. But yeah, I had some basic knowledge, but I haven't been into the depth that was needed for the industry. So I would have concentrated more on those, and even the microprocessors and microcontrollers, because if we are now applying for most of the product-based companies, that is the most asked topic. So we'll have to know how is the processor working, what is the design needed. So I would have concentrated more on those.
Okay, great. And what about verification? Like normally system relevant. You
UVM, yeah. So these, even I would have worked like at least before completing my engineering, I would have uh, done some basic test benches at least in SystemVerilog or UVM. And because even if we are completing our engineering and at say some X point, the industry out is there is expecting that we should have these basic knowledge. So again, if we are coming out, if we are taking some training, it is better if we take the training before completing our BTech itself. But we have to make sure that we are giving some good amount of time that is needed for that preparation.
Great, great. Okay. So thank you for your valuable time, and I hope people who is watching this podcast also got some good insights about it. And if you have any other queries, you can also comment in the comment section so that we will be reviewing them. Yeah, thank you, Venkatesh, for your valuable time. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, everyone.